I'm very glad to introduce you, Hans Hutterer. He is the Vice President and General Counsel of FINSA. He will let us know what his company is doing in the north of the country. And of course, my partner, Guillermo González Frankenberger, he's in charge of our real estate practice in the Monterrey office, and a very good friend of mine. Thank you for being here, Hans and Memo. And let's start. Memo, if you can let us know what is for us nearshoring. I mean, we discuss always that if nearshoring is a new trend, or what is. You told me, and you're the expert in these issues, that nearshoring is here since I don't know how many years, but.
So thank you all. Thank you, Ricardo and the Jorges. You can expect this panel to be a boring one and a less adrenalized one, but still, I hope it's a good one. I think what we will try to achieve is with Hans. Hans, he is Vice President and GC of one of the largest industrial developers in Mexico, meaning they operate a number of industrial parks within the country, and they have, if you will, operational expertise, and they know what is happening from the field on the nearshoring. We have been discussing this morning customs-related and tax-related issues with nearshoring. We're going to try to move into something more operational. As you know, in Mexico, we have been, for the last more than 30 years, we have been receiving a lot of foreign investment. And what I have always said is that nearshoring is kind of the same thing, but with steroids. No, it's the version 3 of what we have been living in the latest 30 or so years. And that means that when you go to a city like Ciudad Juárez or Monterrey, Tijuana, Mexicali, these cities that have been receiving this kind of investment for many, many years, you may feel that everything is ready and is in place to receive Tesla. And when you talk about receiving Tesla or any other big company like this one, and you talk about nearshoring, it's not about receiving a company, a factory that will do one piece of the car. Is receiving the tier 1, the tier 2, and probably even more layers of the production of the whole car. And that means that it's not only one facility. You can name it gigafactory, whatever. It's not one place. It's that plus a number of factories. And it's not only US, it's also Chinese, Korean, and other foreign investors that are coming into Mexico. And when you think about that, and you are in Ciudad Juárez or in Monterrey, and you look around, you may believe that things will run smoothly, but the reality is that there are some I just missed the word for retos, challenges. Among others, you will have water, energy challenges. You will have infrastructure challenges, security, etc. But one of the main ones is labor. And now that we have Hans and Hugo here, that's the one that we want to discuss, because labor is not only, or you might believe that it's, bringing people into the factory and training them. But the reality is that nowadays, the sectors that are coming into Mexico with nearshoring, which are mainly the automobile sector, appliances sector, medical equipment sector, and manufacturing of equipment and of manufacturing tools, those require specialized employees. And Nuevo León, just to give you an example, Monterrey has one of the lowest percentages of rates of disemployment, meaning that you have little number of people to get into Tesla's factory. So you have to bring that people from other states of the country. You have not only to train them, you have to think about where they're going to live, how they're going to live, their kids, schools, and a number of things that surround all of these. So I think we need to talk about nearshoring and what it represents in terms also of challenges for the future and for the government and the private sector to be able to tackle these issues and, if possible, make of this nearshoring not another big manufacturing 30 years history in Mexico, but rather than that, a platform that allows Mexico to build a more, a second and third layer upwards of labor, meaning generation of technology, etc., and not only the assembly portion of it, which we have been doing for a lot of time. So that being said, and that being the context, I let Hugo and Hans get into the details of what is happening and the labor and some other, probably we can discuss some ups and downs of the labor-related issues.
Sure, thank you, Memo. Something important here is one of the challenges in the border of Mexico is the salary gap, the gender gap. As Guillermo mentioned, in Monterrey or Nuevo León has the rate of unemployment is very, very low. I mean, it's the best that we have in the country, but the gender gap regarding salary that the women earn against men is 14%, and the country is 30%. Sorry. So that's one of the challenges. But in companies like FINSA, Hans, what are you doing? What are you trying to face, or what are you facing specifically with this labor matters in the border?
Well, first of all, I appreciate the invitation, and I apologize for not being there in person. It's the opportunity to meet you all. I'm sure that we'll have another one in the near future. To your question, I mean, I agree with Guillermo. Nearshoring has been here for a while. It's just a matter of how we label, depending on how the activity is in the market. And there are circumstances that why the nearshoring has been here for a couple of years now. But let's remember that nearshoring represents only 22% of the industrial activity that is going on in Mexico in terms of development. We've been here in FINSA attending this market, or taking care of this market since 1977 with all the Maquila programs, and all these challenges are just being maximized without this strength that we already have with the nearshoring. From a developer's perspective, it's just a matter of being in the right market to attend the demand of spaces and find those locations that are worth to have and speculate on in order to be able to have a product for our clients. But going beyond that, as to the companies that are being installed in Mexico, I believe that their challenges come with what you guys said, the labor force, and not just a matter of gender or salary gap, but just a matter of finding the actual workers to do the job. Because, with all these demand of spaces and companies being installed in the border, the real challenge is to be able to find the workers, and even if there are men or women, but to find the workers prepared to attend this kind of work, which tend to be pretty technical, right? So it is not a coincidence that, for example, the Tesla project decided to start their main facility in Monterrey, because it's a modern city. It has proven educational system, hospitals. It's a big city with a lot of offer from a workers' perspective. But what happens with border? All these cities with border, they take 80% of the nearshoring demand still. And the real question is, if they're going to be able to keep the pace of that growth, or if we are going to start seeing people coming from actually the other side of the border to comply with it, or to satisfy the demand of workers that we are needing on this side of the border in Mexico. So there are these challenges. from a developer perspective, I mean, we just try to be very strategic as to what market we choose. Obviously, the costs have gone up because of the demand that there is. The vacancy rates are very low, the lowest we have in record, I believe, on this side. So that complicates a little bit, the decision as to where we are going to be looking at our next project or at what cost, right?
Thank you, Hans. And let me go back to the employees and the border. Do we have the universities or do we have the personal real with the capacity or the training that the company required the border? I mean, the migration from the south of the country to the north of the country in Mexico, it's a huge number of employees moving there down there from up there. But are they prepared to these new companies? Do we have that?
The answer is tricky because I think it's yes or no. Let me tell you why. If you talk with any industrial today, and Hans, correct me, but if you talk with any of Hans's clients, they will tell you that every week they lose people because the guy in front of them, the factory in front of them, just offer
10 pesos more.
10, 20 pesos more daily. And in terms of costs, retraining people, it's super expensive. So yes, you have trained employees. The other situation is that people living on the US side, they are working now on the Mexico side in cities like Ciudad Juárez, Tijuana, those that are more walking distance from the US. So yes, you might be able, but every day is more expensive and every day is more complicated. And when you bring people from other states of Mexico, especially from the south, what we have seen is that that they tend to stay only for a very temporary. It's not a permanent
employee. Yeah.
Way of. They don't have a long-term planning. So they go there, they work for a while, and they go back to their states. This is gonna hopefully it doesn't sound wrongly. We are living in the north. Not sure if in all of the cities, but we are living kind of an immigration problem similar to the US. So now in the States in the north, we are receiving people that come from the south of Mexico or from other countries in Central America, and they are working in Monterrey, in Saltillo, in other areas. And the thing is that they are not there forever. So yes, you have specialized people, but it's only for a while. It's expensive. It's more expensive every day. So it's what Hans is saying. It's not sustainable in the long term. So what we need to think about is government, private sector, and educational sector. They need to have discussions on how they will tackle this down. They need to create investigation centers, technical training centers, so that they are able to, pull out all these people that we will need in the short term to cover these employment needs.
Real estate, whatever. I mean, they need where to live.
Hans, I think you tell me a couple of questions, Hans, but one is, in your new, I am sure that when you have a client, one of the questions that they will ask is if there is a specialized hand or employment in the area. Is this something that when you are thinking about a new project, are you thinking about the south of Mexico? Are you thinking about bringing new operations to other cities that are not the the usual suspects? And second, what Hugo just mentioned.
I mean, and Hans, my question is, we discussed this last week, but a month ago I visited the plant of Foxconn in Juarez, and it's far for everything. I mean, the employees needs to take a ride for an hour to arrive to the plant, and it's another hour to return to the city. What the union is asking for in that plant is to create some houses around the plant or some real estate places to grow and to live in there. Are you seeing something like this in FINSA?
Well, we have seen some companies that elect to be in remote areas, and that's because the costs are lower, but the represent challenges. Yeah, and as the activity grows in the market and more companies go in there, those workers that you used to have in your company will it's going to be a no-brainer for them if they just are selected for other companies that are closer to their homes or to the city itself, and they don't need to spend 1 hour going back and forth to their jobs. So what I think is that the companies have realized that kind of model is not sustainable, and they are getting closer to the cities, and they are willing to pay the extra cost for that. And you said the unions. The unions represent a huge challenge for companies. You know that the more union or the bigger a union is, the more powerful it is, to negotiate with the companies to get better salaries for their people. So with all this activity going on in these markets, the unions are getting stronger, and that will represent more cost to the company because they will try to get as much as possible. But what I believe is that even though that the companies still have a lot of margin to go around that, not go around, to take care of that. And going back to the topic that we were just discussing in terms of retaining talent, the companies, those companies do need to start spending more money in retaining talent. And I believe, from an economical perspective, it would still make sense. I mean, we still have big gap in salaries between China and Mexico. But that's without considering the transportation cost, which is way lower than importing a product to the United States from China. So without that combination, I believe that the companies will have the need and the obligation to start investing more money in retaining that talent, because as activity grows, the city grows, but that pace is not going to be necessarily a growth in the workman's force or a growth in terms of getting admissions out of the universities at the same pace, right? So they need to start working on that part. But I believe that they still have market to do that.
And Hugo,
Sorry, just to add here, Hans, you know that there is a reality, the partnership between the unions in the U.S. and Mexico. The favorite word for Mexican labor lawyers is rapid response labor mechanism. We have a lot of clients now facing this issue. And the question for you, Hans, is do you think that this partnership or the USMCA claims that we are facing in Mexico, I mean, from the 12 claims, 10 are in the border, the other is in San Luis Potosí, and the other in Zacatecas, but the others are part of the maquila industry. Do you think that this will be a challenge, or this will not be some issue that companies or investors must take in consideration to invest or to locate, to try to put a plant in the border?
By all means, the United States are putting a lot of pressure on that part. Remember, we have a new the treaty is going to be I don't want to say reopened. It's going to be revised or reviewed in 3 or 4 years now, in 2026.
Yes.
Those matters that are going to be arising are going to be in the agenda when that really comes, and the company do need to take care very important issue to be considered while you work in your investment program.
Sure. And Guillermo, cities like Monterrey, Tijuana, Juarez, the union activity in the past was very, very, very. I mean, I don't remember a strike in Monterrey since, I don't know. What is the industrial community looking on this?
It was during 20 years, it was known that Monterrey had no strikes, 0 strikes. But the reason was not necessarily that there weren't issues. The reason was that these issues were settled before becoming a strike, or before becoming a process before the labor courts. Now it's no longer the case. Now you start learning that there are some issues, that now you have some claims ongoing in the labor court. So it's getting a little bit more active in that sense. Also, not only the panels that you mentioned, but the pressure that, for example, the unions in the U.S. now, they have this strike in Ford, Stellantis, and GM. That puts pressure in Mexico because all the lines, the production lines they have in Ramos Arizpe are now in a standby situation. So this bilateral relationship we have, well, it's something we have been living with, and we need to continue living with it in a way that it makes sense. On the residential that you were talking about, because of the little resources now we have in water and energy now, this is in the north of Mexico, and in my opinion, this is not only a natural issue, but it's also a political issue that we are struggling to have energy and water. But if you want to do a residential project, and because it makes sense, because you have a FINSA industrial park and you see an opportunity and you build these houses, you need to bring the water and the energy on your own at your cost, and then deliver to the water commission and the energy power company the infrastructure. And that infrastructure is not like a 1 kilometer infrastructure. You need to connect probably 5 kilometers from where you are actually using that resource. So everything is becoming more expensive. To build those houses, to bring that into those areas, it's expensive. The cost of living in Monterrey and in other cities in the north, it's becoming more expensive every day. So that also hits your labor and your costs as a company. So as long as we continue to be attractive from a cost point of view for the companies, we will continue to see this happening. But at the moment that all this add up of costs result in something that makes no longer sense, then we might be in a crystal castle, if that's the correct word in English. So we need to be careful, and we need to be intelligent in thinking long-term, in a long-term sense, especially from the government, having plans that are not only for 6 years, but rather they continue in the upcoming administrations.
Yeah, and a question for two of you is, in my opinion, the USMCA, all the international treaties and the ESG policies and practices, the nearshoring, is creating in Mexico a better labor environment, let me put it that way. I mean, employers are forced to comply with the law. They are paying now real salaries. They are not using outsourcing structures that were using to avoid the payment of taxes and social security quotas. The ESG policies are creating more, are reducing the gender gap. We are seeing more and more women in positions of the board of directors and management positions. I think it's a good thing for Mexican employees. Excuse me. And there's another issue here. If we are complying with law, if we have this compliance in Mexico, and this is growing, that's something that is going to cost more for the employer. So,
No, for you as a consumer.
no, for the employer, I mean, for the employer, not for the employee. The employee is going to be has a lot of benefit from that. Is that something that the companies are taking consideration, Hans, since you view?
Yeah, I think so. Well, I mean, they know that they need to do something different. They want to keep their employees happy. I'm sorry, their employees happy. But I think that is the case, yeah.
I think one of the challenges with ESG, and don't take me wrong, is that 50% or more of the build-to-suits that we have been looking at in the last months are for Asian companies. And I don't think that Asian companies have the same view on ESG than
No.
US companies.
Agreed.
So, yeah. So bringing those concepts and compliance with them is going to be a challenge. There is a case before Tesla in Monterrey, which is Kia. And Kia is not only the factory plus all the supply chain they have, but now Kia employees coming from offshore are living in Monterrey, and you see them in the schools, in your clubs, in your country club, wherever you are, you will see people from Korea, which is great. But you need to start doing something to make these different cultures be able to live in the same environment. It's not easy, and I think ESG is going to be a challenge for them.
It is going to be a challenge. I mean, since the pandemic and the commercial conflict that exists between the United States and China since Trump, China has been coming to Mexico, and they are getting 60% of the nearshoring is with them, with China, and they are taking advantage of our treaty, and they are, and the difference with them is from a developer perspective that they don't tend to lease, they own their buildings, right? But there is the condition.
Sorry.
Are not the same that I said. So I agree with you. ESG, yeah.
Go ahead. We're losing you. But go ahead.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Well, in my opinion, my view is different, Guillermo. I mean, as I remember from our office in Washington, they told us that the litigation regarding ESG issues with the supply chain in Latin America rose 300% last year. So if we can import to Mexico that view and the supply chain we need to put that in the supply chain, and we can work with our clients on that. I'm pretty sure that will change the Asian, the American, the South American, the Chinese, and all those cultures that we have and agree. That's a challenge.
Yeah, hopefully. But the thing is that those concepts, they come from the headquarters.
Yeah.
So it's not like you as a supplier will bring that into the Chinese company upwards. It needs to come from the headquarters. And they don't have the same view, at least the same ESG view that the Occidental side has. That's my opinion.
Perfect. And Hans, I don't know if you want to add something to as a conclusion for this panel.
Well, I mean, in general terms, I believe nearshoring represents a great opportunity for the country, for the workers, and for the economy in general. Obviously, that activity has all the challenges we have been mentioning in terms of workers and employees and employers. Not to mention the other ones that are being discussed in other panels. We just need to be as companies prepare for this and be able to keep the pace. Nearshoring is going to be here for a while until it stabilizes. We are, the neighbors of the biggest market in the world, and that's a huge advantage for Mexico. So we need to do things well, keep in mind our employees, have a close relationship with the governments in order to have all these things nearshoring activity.
Thank you, Hans. Guillermo?
Well, if a client asks me my thoughts on the labor and what they should be
That's me, please.
ready for, I will refer them to you. No, I will tell them, look, one, be ready or try to have a professionalized relationship with your union. Try to choose a union. Well, they can't choose a union, but try to hopefully when you have a union, try to have this relationship that it's pro business, that it's professionalized. That's one on the unions. On the employees, rather than trying to give them more money, which is something that they will need to do, try to offer, um, uh, um, you know, uh, the chance for employees to have a long-term, medium-term life in your company, meaning, the possibility for them to grow within the company rather than just thinking they will come in and come out. And third, be ready to deal with these things because they will continue to happen for the upcoming years until, as Hans said, everything is more stable.
Before we open the panel to questions, let me tell you something. In Mexico, the old unions, I mean CTM, CROC, and all those huge organizations are not disappearing without losing power. Now the independent unions are working a lot with the steel workers here in the US and the other unions in Canada's mining unions. So we're going to face a lot of strikes. We are going to face a lot of union certification process in Mexico during the next years. That's good for the labor lawyers. It's not good for the companies. What they're going to fight against them. We're facing that right now, and this is part of the new labor culture that we have in Mexico. It's not because of AMLO. It's because of the reforms that we are facing since two administrations, since the Peña Nieto administration, and it's good for Mexico. I think it's a new era. It's not easy for a labor lawyer to be used to, as Guillermo said, to choose a union. Now the union is chosen by the employees as it must be. So we will be facing a lot of problems with the unions. We are going to be involved in some claims before the USTR and the Department of Labor. The US is checking everything that companies are doing in labor matters. So we will be having a lot of work as labor lawyers and trade and custom lawyers. So if you have any questions, please let us know. Sorry.
Yeah, the industrial park standards in Mexico call for something like 250 kVAs per hectare development. That is well gone, and it's a very old standard. The new processes of companies with companies arriving in Mexico nowadays call for 10 times that much. I have already 2 projects stopped because we cannot find enough energy in a small amount of land. What are the business park developers doing in Mexico to solve that issue?
Hans, ¿alcanzaste a escuchar?
No, I can barely
But basically, the question is, as you know, KBAs, until some couple of years ago, they were not an issue in the conversations when you were negotiating with your clients. And nowadays, KBAs are becoming part of the negotiation. And obviously, if your client is asking for a small portion of land, it doesn't make sense to give a lot of KBAs because now the value of the KBAs is higher because there are little KBAs in numbers in the region. So the question is, how are you handling the KBS energy situation from your side of the table as
That
developer?
that is a great question. Let me tell you this. Before this energy crisis, the strategy was based on location decisions. No? Right now, now is KVAs. If you don't have the energy to be able to for your clients to supply their demand, there is no way a project is going to be installed in that area. So we are taking a step back, and when we start playing on a development, we need to make sure that the energy is going to be there. And in order to do that, there are substantial investments that need to be made, and the authorities right now are not investing in that. The problem in Mexico is not generation, it's distribution, and the infrastructure is not there. So that infrastructure is being required to be put by the developers. So that's why the KPAs have been increasing their price. But we just need to be sure that our facilities have the sufficient capacity to be able to supply their demand.
But and you agree with me that KVAs are now part of the negotiations in any real estate related transaction, right?
They are. Developers are constantly looking for additional KVAs. There are some technical limitations that, depending on where the substation is located, you'll be able to have access to certain KVAs, but you need to buy them from a third party. And the price is market reference right now. So there is the KVA in the center of Mexico is substantially more cheaper than the KVA in Tijuana, which I have seen KVAs sold for $600 each KVA, as opposed to $150 in the center of Mexico. So, yeah, the game is changing in that part. You don't have the ability to foresee the niche of your clients and be able to secure those KVAs. It's going to be very complicated. Yeah. And in order to do that, you need to have a very close relationship with the Energy Commission and the authorities to be able to plan and how to get all the feasibility you're required to start planning on a project.
Everything is money.
Yeah, but I think the rule now is more KVAs. Well, you need to buy more land.
Well, the thing is that he said right. There is a plenty of generation and high things to voltage, but when you 400,000 is too high, so you need to lower it to 150. That reduction substation costs about $50 million.
Yeah.
If you have 100 hectares, that's too much money to invest. It's not feasible.
No, yeah, but now the model has changed because now I cannot give you names, but an industrial park that we just created in the north of Nuevo León near the airport, they had to build their own substation, pay for it, and give it for free to the power company. There's no other way.
Yeah.
If you have 150,000 kVAs voltage, yes. But if you don't,
Alta tensión, you mean?
yeah, you have to go to.
You have to bring it to medium.
400,000 to reduce for an industrial park because you
Yep.
$50 million substation. How can you put that on the price of the land? It would be $20, $50 per square meter.
You cannot.
Which is too much.
And let me tell you what is happening right now. Because you're saying the cost is so high that it's impossible to reflect that in the price and keep up a very, profitable model or one that is going to be accepted by the client. What is happening now is that the Federal Electricity Commission is gathering several developers in order for them to jointly invest in that infrastructure, and each of them get their own capacity from there, so that you don't need to bear all the costs, but you do get your KVA that you need to have ready for your clients. I know that answers your question somehow.
So this might surprise all of you, but the government is making the private sector to do what they are supposed to do.
Yeah, but that's happening for for many years now, and it's gonna be still the case because the budget is not there. But that's the reality. If you want to be in the play, you need to do that. And in order to do that, you need to start working with other developers or competitors in order to be able to make these kind of investments and get the electricity. It's a win-win situation for us. It's costly, yeah, but it's the only way it's going to work. Unless you need a small substation for a small park or a single company. Right?
Any other question? Right.
For those of us that aren't experts in this field, what does a KVA mean, or DA, whatever it is?
Oh, sorry. It's a unit to measure energy, power. Kilovolt.
Kilovolt?
Yeah.
Ampere?
So now, ampere. So now it's an asset in the market today.
It's very simple. Kilovolt ampere is think in a water tube. Well, it's the wide of the pipe. And kilowatts per hour is how many water can pass through. So how wide is the pipe is how much water can pass through. How much kVA is how much energy can pass through.
That's why I'm a labor lawyer.
Shifting gears a little bit, Guillermo, you mentioned migration as a challenge primarily for employee turnover. There's around 3,000 migrants crossing into the Bahiennes every day right now, with the implicit goal for the majority of them being to cross into the United States, inevitably spending time at the border while they await that. What strategies, if any, have you seen some of your clients employ to effectively take advantage of that opportunity?
You mean of having that, keeping that people in Mexico in the north with jobs?
Yes, or
So-
just taking advantage of the fact that you mentioned that unemployment rates are very low, but that is a very large labor force that
Yeah.
is ready for work.
I'm going to give you, this is kind of a personal view, but I'm going to give you what I think it's an actual successful example. In a few years ago, we had in Monterrey, but in Tijuana, it was before, a lot of people coming from IT. And when they start working in the building sector, as as what we call obreros, they happen to be very good in the job, and they happen to be very professional. And now they have been located they started a community, and that community is working and is paying taxes, and it's doing things in a way that the combination makes sense. So that's the case of IT. There are other cases, not naming countries because I don't want to sound wrong, but there are other cases that is the other way around. They do little, they do drugs, they do different things. So in this case, if you go to Monterrey today and you look into any building in construction, you will see people from IT. And you will see they have all the professional equipment, and you see the bus station and you will see them. And so I think that's what we need. I think some of sectors are taking that advantage. They recognize it, that they have these abilities, these skills, that they have this sense of doing things well, and they have been integrating. Yeah, thank you. Integrating.
But this is,
State of Nuevo León had a policy or a program to provide work to many of the people that were crossing through in Harlem, together with the private sector. And they created thousands of jobs for them.
but Luis,
There's too much people for the amount of work that is needed.
that is happening in Nuevo León, I'm sure. But I mean, in the border, we have now the capacity to receive all those people. I mean, even Nuevo León has now the capacity to receive the bunch of people that they are moving. I mean, yesterday or the days before yesterday, the trains were stopped because there was a huge problems with with people over the train. So
And for the most part, they're good people. They're
yeah,
not committing crimes. They're not dealing with drugs.
But still you have the issue, they are not specialized. You need to train them.
Yeah, I know.
You need to be able to, usually they don't come with a whole family. So they are not there forever, right? And so you need to integrate them. I think that's the word. You need to be able to integrate them. In the case of IT, you see the families.
Oh, yes, you're right, you're right. And I've seen Haitians working in Monterrey in administrative jobs.
yeah. And going back to your question, I mean, it's not only from South or Central America, it's also from Mexico. I mean, people from Oaxaca, people from Guerrero, they are running out from the crime or from the poverty. We need to do something. That's the reality. We need to, as a country, we need to create more places or benefits for those guys to I mean, what Guillermo said, the training is very important. There's a lot of companies that are looking for hourly employees, but they has no training for that. I'm sorry to say that, but it's the reality. Please, the last one.
A couple of years ago, there was a reform that repealed the outsourcing scheme in Mexico. How do you believe that is impacting and will impact future investments?
It is impacting since 2 years now. What I mean, the outsourcing in Mexico was used or was implementing in order to avoid payment of social security and taxes in some cases. There were other cases that were implementing these strategies in order to reduce the payment of profit sharing to the employees. Today, being honest, is not an issue. I mean, at least for our clients, we are seeing that there are more and more clients invest in Mexico and trying to comply with the law as it is. I mean, without outsourcing companies. There is some space to provide some services as a kind of outsourcing, but it's not like in the past that every single employee of a company were in the service company. I think it's not an issue right now. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Charlie is saying that we have to finish this. It's Charlie's fault. So thank you very much. Happy to comment outside. Thank you, Guillermo, Hans.
Gracias, Hans.
Thanks.